All right, ladies and gentlemen. Today, I've been thinking about this for a little while, and where do I go from here with the Journey into Satanism series? And a lot of people on social media have been discussing a lot of different things when it comes to Satanism and what they believe Satanism is. Be it satanic rituals or rites with a good cigarette to utilizing idyllic type drugs such as shrooms or that of marijuana, pot, whatever. And I find it interesting that so many people are willing to put false ideologies behind their belief systems, such as drug use. However, when you utilize drugs, it does put you into a false state of delusion, especially when you're utilizing an invocation of, say, a demon or an angel. Okay. How do you know you've actually contacted an entity if you are under the influence of a narcotic? Okay, you see my point. It's a double negative at that point. However, when we look at, say, for an example, Native American, their rituals are to sit around a bonfire and while smoking a peace pipe. This is part of their rituals. How do I know this? Because I happen to be Native American on my dad's side. But there's also other rituals like offering tobacco. Okay. If we go into Palo Mayumbi, gunpowder, alcohol is an offering to the deities, to the Ugan or the Orisha type deities. Okay. When we get into voodooism, we see where alcohol, foods are offered. Santa Muerte, same exact thing. Rum, tequila, cigar smoke, sign of power, authority. The spitting of the wine. Okay, it's not ingesting the wine, it's spitting the wine. And this is where a lot of people get this confused. They get into a practice and they believe that they know this stuff. Okay, when in fact they really don't. It is a state of delusion, plain and simple. However, we can go into other areas such as shamanism, where they utilize herbs. Okay, herbs in herbalism mixed in with alchemy can benefit a practitioner. For an example, if you mix sulfur powder with red sandalwood powder, dragon's blood powder, graveyard dirt, and mere crystals, crushed up mere crystals, okay, and you set them ablaze within your burn pot, it is a idyllic relaxant. It literally puts you on your ass. And I've discussed this with a new apprentice of mine, and I sent him this little remedy, and I told him, I said, if you're going to use this, my advice is to either be laying down or to sit down. Do not stand during these rituals, even if it is a meditative visual technique. Because once you start inhaling this, it will knock you on your ass. So it's just like utilizing, say, for an example, basil, okay, rosemary, thyme, and amber, together with dead sea salt, okay, with sea salt, okay. Very, very powerful, potent item that can be put into a grist bag and carried on you to find a job, to get money, okay. But if we're doing ingestion type stuff or inhalants, hallucinogens, or even relaxants, my what I tell my students is to go into the natural remedies such as catnip tea. A pinch of catnip per cup of tea, okay? By putting a pinch per cup, it is a method, a natural method that has been used by pagans for centuries, okay? As a method of relaxing. It allows you to fully relax and get into a meditative state. Or even if you're antsy, to help you slumber. Okay. This is something that you really don't want to do with interference from narcotics, such as cocaine, pot, marijuana, parachutes, whatever, or even shrooms. Okay. Because this literally will give you that false persona. It alters the brainwave. It alters the cognitive, visualatory understanding, okay, of separating what's fake and what's real. However, when we go into other items that magicians utilize when it comes to rituals, this is something that is a wide range across the spectrum. Some altars are massive, like, say, for an example, an entire room, like a bedroom, perhaps an entire basement dedicated to just altars for, say, for an example, the Orisha, the Ugan, the Loa, demons, angels, or even the old gods themselves. Okay? It is up to the practitioner at this point to discern what feels right for their altar and what they wish to utilize amongst their rituals. Some practitioners, you'll see this on here on YouTube or on Facebook. You'll see videos from voodooism where they are stretching a dog out and they cut off the head and utilize the dog's blood over the Neagra, the spiritual house of the Loa. Okay, this is known as animal sacrificing, and it does still go on in many countries today, even with chickens and roosters within voodooism, or even hoodooism for that matter. When you get into other areas such as Santeria or Palo Mayombe, Quimbanda, then you start seeing other methods such as utilizing the tongue of a goat or a cow and mixing it in with blood and items from a victim or an individual through black magic that is put into a mason jar with the tongue over it and put out into, say, for example, the desert in a specific location that only the practitioners know. And what's interesting about this is that this is known as black magic. It's called cursing and hexing and destruction rituals. Whereas a lot of people, when they get into it, it's the complete opposite type ritual. Okay. So instead of utilizing, say, for example, bones, like chicken bones, rotted flesh, a photo of your intended, or even an article of clothing, okay, rusty nails, graveyard dirt, sulfur powder to attract a demon to that being, black candles, okay, utilized for black, magic, destruction rituals. You may This is completely different from doing, say, a lust ritual or that of a compassion ritual. A lot of practitioners today, or at least people from like third world countries like Malawi or Ethiopia, Congo region, they're in a very harsh environment. Number one, this is a war torn country. It's very, very poor. A lot of people, depending on where they are just wanting it to end. They want it to grow. They want to get out of the slums, so to speak. So you see a lot of these people coming and they get the idea in their head that they want to be a part of the Illuminati, get rich and famous so they can provide for their families. Now, I understand the idealism about providing for one's family. Okay, for an example, right now I am making more money than my son's mother, who is a CNA, a certified nurse's aide. She's getting ready to go back to school. She's got a new vehicle that she's got to pay off, and on top of that, we've got a very high rent just for a one-bedroom apartment. And there's three of us living here. There's me, my son, and her. Okay. Not mentioning three cats. All right. So I understand about the need to provide for your family. I get that. Okay. It's honorable. A man's duty is to provide for his family. Okay. But a lot of these individuals who come to Satanism believe that Satanism and the Illuminati are one and the same. They are not. The only group to have anything to do with the Illuminati is the Brotherhood of Satan. Okay. Originated out of North Carolina. They have offices in Richmond, Virginia, and San Francisco. And they do there's a lot of rituals and stuff like that, and a lot of talk about them right here on YouTube. And last time I heard, they were actually getting ready to put forth a new website, which is cool. I mean, I got nothing against them. From what I understand, they actually have one of the largest occult libraries in the world, which is awesome. They are traditional Satanism, traditional Satanists, and they do a lot of outside rituals. So that's a whole nother gander to items that you're going to be needing for just that particular type of rituals that you're planning on doing. However, when it comes to them, they have what is known as the Satanic Illuminati. It is a council of elders within that specific order, that specific foundation. And a friend of mine, Frank, he actually was surprised. He and I were talking one day, or one night, I should say, and he was completely surprised at how much I knew just about this one order. I've never been a member of this order. I never joined that order, even though I applied for it. I never heard anything back, so I just kept my distance and I did my own homework, assuming that they were just like everybody else that has risen and fallen, all these other foundations that come and go. Well, it turns out they're still there. They're just upgrading systems and stuff. So, which is cool. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. But they're the only ones that have anything to do with the word Illuminati. No one else, no other satanic foundation or order, be it the Vampire Order by Reverend Cesar 999, be it the Church of Satan, be it the Brotherhood of Satan out of New York, be it the Joy of Satan, be it the Church of Leviathan, the TST, the Temple of Satan, the First Church of Satan, the Werewolf Order, run by Anton Zanderleve's daughter, Laura, or, actually, let me rephrase that. The First Church of Satan out of Connecticut is actually run by Laura LeVay, whereas her sister, Zena LeVay, and her husband, Nicholas Schreck, run the Werewolf Order. Okay, it's a radio station, but it's also, from what I understand and can gather, it's also a little bit of a coven, a satanic coven. But she's also moved into Buddhism and a number of other areas. So I don't know what it is these days. The Cathedral of the Black Goat has some very, very good rituals, and it doesn't really require a lot of items. So again, it does come down to you as the practitioner on what you like and what attracts you for your altar. Go with your feeling, your gut instincts, and do your homework upon the meanings of them. For an example, I'm not one for animal sacrificing, but if I'm going down a trail, like say if I'm walking a trail in the woods, or I'm driving down the road and I see a freshly dead animal, you can utilize its blood. You can get you can cut it open and get their bones and utilize them for your own ritual. Rat's blood is something that's very, very potent in black magic, especially hexcraft and cursing, demonic summonings and stuff like that. So you can actually utilize all this stuff. A offering bowl with a bell, the epistle and pedestal, something that you can grind up everything right there at your altar. You have a side desk. You can utilize the scrying mirror or the scrying bowl. The Demonolator S Connolly, she has a book called Bringing Down Belial. Very, very good book. A lot of good information, and there's a lot of remedies there for different, types of divination. And what's ironic about demonolators is that they choose solely to work with demons, not angels, but demons. Okay. Necromancers, on the other hand, are a lot different. They'll work with just about any type of spirit, be it the spirit of the dead, be it the summoning of an angel, demon, the jinn, the Oish, the Ugan, Orisha, the Loa, it doesn't matter. They work with just about anybody for their own personal, gain. But they also do it to benefit their clients. And this is something that is very, very unique in itself. And I'll tell you why. Necromancy, according to a 2nd century philosopher, inquisitor, I guess you could call him, rated necromancy as the most feared practice of the dark arts. And that's out of 7. This later became associated with the 7 sins and the 7 princes of sins, such as Satan, Lucifer, Belphegor, and the others like Ammon or Ammon. You got a whole wide range of different hierarchies of demons that you can work with, especially in this area. But it comes down to you and how you want to work with them, and what works for you, not what works for me, but what works for you. When we get into ritual items or ritual uses, it can be anything from blood sorcery to hexcraft to, utilizing black sand, chicken bones, to, depending on the size of them. The little ones are based for children. The youth, you got the thin, long ones that are feminine. And then you got the big, heavy duty ones, which are masculine. Okay, so you got to really interpret these things and figure out what they can be used for. Now, what's interesting here is that no matter what practice you get into, you really want to set up your altar to support that individual type of path working. For an example, in an altar room, say if you have a walk-in closet, you can go in, you can utilize chalk, and which can be painted over quite easily. And what you can do is draw the personal sigil of all the demons and demonesses that you work with, or even angelic beings, be it gods and goddesses. Okay. And if you're really bold and you really want to do it, you can actually set up two different altars, one for the feminine and one for the men, the male, the masculine. And this really does work, because even in voodooism, in Voodoo, they have different altars for each Loa. Okay. So you really take that into consideration as well. Do I consider human sacrificing a thing in satanic belief structures? The answer is no. I don't believe in human sacrificing. I believe in if you're doing like a black mass type thing, you do have a volunteer, be it a male or a female, that becomes the living flesh, the living altar, holding candles and full visual. As Anton Zandula, they put it in the Satanic Rituals book, okay? But also the Satanic Bible. But you have to know what you're doing and the rites themselves, be it the three that I just named off a little while ago: destruction, compassion, and lust. Okay, but a lot of people do come to me and they want to be a part of the Illuminati, and I always block them because I'm tired of dealing with this freaking bullshit. I am not a part of the Illuminati, nor do I even believe in them. To me, they are nothing more than a cult. I was in a group yesterday when I was out at my mom's, just chilling, and, my son, his mom, and his grandparents. And I was sitting there going through the groups, and I found this one thing about how this one guy from Africa really wanted to be a part of the real Illuminati. And I found it so, I couldn't help but laugh at it, because what was interesting about it is you got this other guy saying, well, you're from Africa, you should have one right there in your region. And it's like, oh my God. Number one, if you're going to believe in something that's not real, really do your homework into it. There's a myth about the Illuminati that goes back to association with the Vatican. Okay. The Vatican, as in Christianity, the Judo-Christian Society. They're a part of that, but they believe in the European church methods, which is paganism and Christianity. But then you got the Hollywood-produced film, which is what everybody seems to believe in. They don't believe in the other one. No, they believe in the Hollywood-produced film, starring Tom Hanks. And what's interesting here is that so many groups claiming to be the Illuminati have popped up. And so many people have told me flat out they've been waiting for years since they joined to even see 1 ounce, 1 penny to come back to them. And all these groups want is more and more of your money. Does that ring a bell? It's called going to church. Every time you go to church, they have the offering plate out. 10% of your income. Take that in consideration and contemplate that for a little bit. When you get into Satanism, when you want to get into Satanism, or you want to get into any other type of spiritual belief structure, this type of thing will set you apart from what real occultism is, what real Satanism is. A lot of these young pups read the Satanic Bible and they believe they know everything. They think it's about posting photos of them shirtless. They think it's about sex. They think it's about drugs. They think it's about heavy metal. What about the deities? Are you going to just sit there and go, Hail Satan, Hail Satan, Hail Satan 3 times? Or are you actually going to do your homework? Are you going to do your homework? Get into demonology, angelology, get into the rituals, and begin growing within your spiritual path. You see the difference? You got these ones way down here, but then you got the real occultists up here. Okay? And a lot of occultists, especially the real ones, you'll see a lot of these people will put books out because they're trying to make it into a franchise. It's not a franchise. And this is one of the reasons I like Alistair Notch so much. He is based out of Germany, much in the same way as Frank White, from the Grail of the Serpents. He's a Luciferian sorcerer. Whereas Alistair Notch is a theistic Satanist, and he speaks a lot on it. He is a spokesperson for theistic Satanists. And he just lays it out there in such a manner that it's so crystal clear that if you can't understand the words coming out of his mouth, you might as well go back under the hole you crawled out of. Because this is not the path for everyone. A lot of times people want to join Satanism to be cool. They want to be the rebel. And unfortunately, this comes from the Devil's Notebook, the bad guy badge that Anton Szandor LaVey spoke of. Turk Suzij, founder of the church, or I should say the Embassy of Lucifer and the Church of Lucifer on Facebook. And yes, the Embassy of Lucifer is an embassy, by the way. He's actually looking at property to buy, or at least a section of land, the one land that nobody wants, which is kind of ironic, but still, I mean, I support him in this because at least it'll be a satanic nation. But here's the thing. He wrote one book called The Demonic Bible. And yes, I've actually had some fun with this book. My mother, years ago, was visited once a day, sometimes twice a day, by the Jehovah's Witnesses. And she was getting pissed off about it. So when I came back from Tucson and I found this out, I said, you want me to take care of this for you? She says, no, leave it alone. So I said, all right. So about a month later, she ended up going down to visit a friend in South America, and Sure enough, I had the book ready on the stove, and sure enough, around the same time that they always show up, bam, knock on the door. Hi, I'm so and so from Kingdom Hall. I'm a Jehovah Witness. I'd just like to give this to you. Yada yada yada. And I said, I tell you what, I'll read your works if you read mine. Oh, sure, sure. What is it? I hand him the Demonic Bible by Turk Suzij. 2 generations have gone by. 2 generations. Not one Jehovah Witness stepped foot on my mother's property. Just by giving them the satanic, the devil's, can't speak today, but just by me giving them the Demonic Bible by Turk Suzij, they never stepped foot on there again until most recently. But at least they've learned from their mistakes, and they're not going daily or even twice a day. This new group, this new generation, the 3rd generation, they actually take no for an answer. Wise choice. Satanic rituals can be anything from elementals, utilizing and harnessing the weather, along with the demonic or angelic, as in the fallen angels. Not the celestial, but the fallen. Those who are considered to be the fallen, those who left. Because you got to remember that Christianity, especially the Judeo-Christian propaganda, states that a lot of the angels fell from heaven. This is why a lot of people classify them as fallen. However, they forget that if you go into Islamic traditions, you'll see where Lucifer's counterpart, also known as Iblis, actually chose to leave on his own to start his own kingdom. This is why I like traditional Satanism so much, is because it sticks to the facts. Okay? It sticks to the fact that in the belief structure that the reason Jehovah has no control over the kingdom of Satan is because it is not his creation. Even if you go into chapter 3, verse 5 and verse 22, you'll see why. They believe so heartily that there's only one God that they forget the term, and no one can explain verse 22. And the Lord God said, behold, here is man who has become like one of us. One of us. Okay? Even in the Enochian keys, it says, be friendly unto me, for I am one and the same, a true worshiper of the true and highest infallible king of hell. Okay? But when you go back to verse 5 in Genesis chapter 3, it explains why mankind was forbidden to eat thereof of the tree of life and death. Because he feared that if man ate of that tree, then he would become as a god, knowing good and evil. Again, other gods. 2 Corinthians 4:4 is a little g instead of a big G. It says that Satan is the god of this world, and yet it's supposed to be Jehovah's world. Read your Bible. You'll learn it. You'll see the inconsistencies. But a lot of people go by the King James Bible nowadays. They forget that the Bible is like a tree of life. There's been so many different copies of it that no one really remembers what the first one is. However, if you go back to the 16th century, you'll see a little Bible called the Vulgate Bible. This is the oldest translation of the Bible, the oldest living translation, the Vulgate. Okay. And I want you to pay attention to this, because when we go into a little verse, verse 18, and I believe it is chapter 22, I think. Don't quote me on it. I may be wrong. It's been a while since I've looked it up. But it says, "Thou shalt not allow a witch to suffer," meaning, or to live. Okay. But if you go back into the Vulgate, it says murderer. Murderer. This is what Christianity has done. They've corrupted everything. And people tend to go with it. They want to put on that bad guy badge. They want to be the rebel. They want to be that look at me factor. I'm different. I'm bold. I'm whatever. I just call you a sissy and spandex. That's basically what the leather pants are. It's just another form of spandex, and it's like, get the fuck away from me, idiots. But anyways, if you want to learn what Satanism truly is, it's about learning. It's about understanding. It's about your altar being your portal, your nexus between realms. So when you get into this, you have to understand the deity that you are getting ready to summon. If you want to summon them, do you want to invoke them? Do you want to evoke them? Okay, and then you have to get the ritual rites set up. This means all the items, be it one candle, be it red or black, perhaps even white. Okay, my brother Brian, in Coven member, when we first started working with the demonic Bible, he went with black candles, and after the first couple of times, he said, "Bro, I'm tired. I've seen the changes. They've appeared to me in this type of format, but I'm exhausted just by doing it." I said, "Try the white candles." Well, he got some white candles and did them. Had so much energy still. S. Connolly actually has a book called The Demonator's Guide to Demonic Magic, or The Complete Book of Demonic Magic. Okay, 2 different books, but both by her. And the funny thing is that in one of them, she actually has what is known as color magic. Okay, candle magic. But the colors are the representation of the orders, the different um, hierarchies, the different ranking system, much like military type thing, positioning. A duke versus a prince versus a king. Okay, type structure, and you'll see who they are, what colors they represent. And when you start doing the research into them and getting their sigils and drawing their sigils and placing them on your altar, getting the incense that represents them. Say, for an example, if you're drawing on Lucifer, you'd want dragon's blood or sandalwood. Okay, or even say, for an example, let's go with patchouli. Okay, for just an example. Okay. Now, out of these 3, which one would be the best way to call in? A lot of people would say dragon's blood, but if you think about it, it would actually be sandalwood. Sandalwood would represent Lucifer, the bearer of light, the elemental of air. But here's the kicker. Don't toss out dragon's blood, even if it's charcoal, because it represents the draconian aspects of Lucifer, the dragon. Okay? Dragon magic. That of a warrior class, pure. Dragons are considered in the Fae world, or at least the the world of the Fae, to be the top of the food chain. Why? Because they're so powerful. Lucifer is the most powerful because he was the most beautiful angel. But let's say, for an example, you want to call on, let's say, for an example, Lucifer's Raphael, or that of Mephistopheles, in other words, a trickster. Both of these beings are pact makers. Go with Dragon's Blood. Utilize blood sorcery. Sometimes, a lot of people sit there like the Unholy Bible and talk about blasphemy. They enjoy blasphemy. They love to hear the practitioner blasphemy. Why? Why is it that you need to blasphemy to get a rise out of these demons? When you go back into the old grimoires, why would you want to use threatening demeanors to force a demon's hand? Why not just go into your altar room, light the candles, the incense, place yourself in a calm, reflective manner, and open up your altar room for whichever being wishes to work with you? Give them the choice. You don't have to force them. They want to work with you. And there is the rub. This is why so many will sit there and tell you that you have to blasphemy, that you have to force them with a rod, okay, like in the Grand Grim War, okay, that you have to be in a protective circle. You don't need a protective circle. We're not Wiccans. We're not pagans. We're Satanists. We work together with the demons, the fallen angels. Hand and hand. It is a beneficial, mutual relationship. You have to have an appreciation for the inner and outer sanctum. There are rules, regulations, and laws that need to be adhered to. These are not only for your protection, but also for theirs. Myrmidon Pontifex Maximus said it best in Tentatio Diabolis. More specifically, the Devil's Bible, by him. He said, never contact a demon that you know nothing about. This is common sense. Always make sure to have the proper offering to that demon. Never keep a demon waiting. This is just his rules, his regulations, and thought forms on ritual invocations or evocations, the summonings of these beings. And those are just a few of them. I believe there was like 5 or 6 of them, if I remember correctly. Those were just 3. You can look for them. You can look for this book up for yourself. Okay? Just go out and get it. Read it. You'll understand. Another one is Vocalcolacus Aureax, the book of the divine black flame of Satan. Traditional Satanism, both of these men were part of the Cathedral of the Black Goat, really have an appreciation in that understanding of the satanic philosophy, the mandates of Satanism. And a lot of people construe this from a right-winged faction point of view. Satan, evil. Lucifer, evil. Demons are evil. They need to be feared. Why should you fear them? All they've done is want to work with you to better your life. When you get into rituals, You're going to start learning what works and what doesn't. What items do you need for what specific ritual? Be it a love ritual, be it a destruction ritual, be it a teaching ritual, or even if it's a ritual to commune. You're going to find it out. But you have to dedicate yourself to it. You can't just you can't just put a foot into it. Okay, I didn't get a reply, so I'm going to move on to, say, a different form of Satanism or a different type of craft. No, you got to spend at least 3 to 6 months just in that one specific method, experimenting, dedicating yourself, doing that complete belly flop into the river Styx. Give yourself the baptism, or even have a high member of an order come over and just bless you. I wouldn't say bless you, more like baptize you into, initiate you into a coven or a temple, church, order. Depending if you want to be a solitary or a coven member. Really start delving in, learning your history. Separate what's been told to you from actual facts, actual mythology. Look at different regions of the world and how it was seen. Lionel and Patricia Fanthorpe, Satanism and Demonolatry. Very, very good book. Did it from, what was it, Egyptian, Greek, Middle Eastern, European point of views. Showed how they didn't just put in the practitioners, but they literally showed you the history. Satanism has been around literally, and they prove this in this book, going back at least 7,000 years. 7,000 years. Christianity has only been around for 2,500 years. Before that, it was Zoroastrianism. The further back in time you go, the more you're going to see. But your altars are going to continue to grow or to shrink depending on the need for your rituals. But the knowledge, that gnosis within you, that is what's going to determine your rituals and your rites. But you have to believe in them, that they're going to work. There can be no room for doubt. And when you've had actual contact with a demon, with an angel, all those doubts, all those questions, gone. And you will be a believer. In the black arts, the dark arts, in the magic, in the rites and rituals that you perform, right down to the rituals and the demons and the angels that you are doing, that you're working with. So really get into the rites, the knowledge, look at it from various different views. The image of Satan from, say, Set or Seth in Egyptian to, say, for an example, Pan in Greek mythology, or that of Loki in Norse. You're going to see the same exact thing when you look at the gods of the dead, Anubis, Hades, Supe, even hell in Norse mythology. You're going to see it. But you're also going to separate fact from fiction. Learn what is instead of doing what was. Okay? Look at what can be compared to what's been told. Really delve into it for yourself. But remember, Satanism and demonic sorceries is not for everyone. It is not for the faint of heart, because you will be shunned. You will be ignored. You'll be targeted. And not everybody can deal with this. It's about being a hermit, a hierophant, and the magician. The Lord or goddess, if you wish. The Lord and Lady type thing. As they say in paganism. Look at Lilith versus Samael. Samael was there before Satan. But you have to understand that Satan and Lucifer were two different things. I was talking with a guy about this, and he didn't realize that these two beings were two different entities. They were from two different orders of angels. Satan, the first hierarchy, a watcher, a Gogorai. Lucifer, an archangel who was supposedly cast out to pride. Fire was what he felt like, a ball of fire. And yet Prometheus, who came before, stole fire from the gods and gave it to mankind. If you don't believe me, do your own research. Look up divination, chiromancy. Look up necromantic arts, practices. It takes 2 seconds on a Google search to even come up with this stuff. So delve into it. All right? But remember this. Your altars are going to grow, shrink. You're going to be moving into new areas of deitas as you grow and you mature in the arts. And that's what it's about. So really delve into it. Don't be afraid to go against the norm and to actually step foot in the unknown. Forever in the wastelands of the shadows. This dark sorcerer is out.